Okay, so in this episode, let's talk about the prepositional case. So the prepositional case is used with prepositions, which we have in English also, lots of prepositions. In or at or by. Let's look first at the endings that the nouns take in the singular and plural in the prepositional case. So this is pretty straightforward. This is a friendly case. Everyone's going to end in ya or I in the singular and ach or yach in the plural. So it's the achi yachi case. So the noun is going to end in ya unless it'll only end in I. So it'll end in ya most of the time, and it'll only end in I if the second to last letter is also an I. And it will keep that I even in the plural. And also feminine nouns ending in a soft sign take I. So those are the only two. Everyone else takes ya. But if you're a feminine noun ending in a soft sign, like blödsinn, or any gender noun ending in I and then another letter, it's going to take I. So like zdania or cafeteria or auditoria. So these guys all take I, right? And if it ends in, if the second to last letter is I, it's going to hold on to that I even in the plural, right? So we can see zdani, zdani, right? They hold on to those E's even in the plural. Whereas the soft sign, right, he picks it up for the singular but then abandons it at the plural. Okay, and then everyone's going to end in ach or yach, depending on whether it's hard or soft. And that's like usual. Okay, and the adjectives are also pretty straightforward. You don't have to worry about animate or inanimate or anything like that. And the pronouns are pretty familiar. You'll just notice that there's this N in front. Ñom, ñe, ñom, and nich. Because with the prepositional case, you're usually using a preposition, right? So if you said añom instead of ayom, right? So that N, or onye, onich, that N kind of helps buffer that huge slew of vowels. Okay, so what are the uses of the prepositional case? Well, as the name would imply, it's used with prepositions. You must have a preposition. So, what are our prepositions? We've got prepositions meaning about, and that's o, ob, obo. And o plus the prepositional is the same as saying pro plus accusative. So meaning about or concerning so-and-so or such and such. So when do we use o, when do we use ob, and when do we use obo? So we use o all of the time, except for when we use ob and obo. We use ob when the following noun starts with a, e, I, o, or u. Just those vowels. So if the following noun starts with any of those vowels, it's going to be ob. And then it's obo basically very infrequently. Only when you're saying обо мне, обо всем, обо всех. So you just remember those. So let's look at some examples. So we're going to answer о чем, about what, or о ком, about whom, or about. So let's see. Мать рассказывает о детях. So мать рассказывает о детях. So she's talking about the kids. So about, and дети is in the prepositional plural, right? That ях ending. Or, so that's о ком, о детях. О чем он думает? Он думает об экзаменах. So there's our prepositional plural ending, and we have this ob because our first letter here is e. Or so they're talking about me. Они говорят обо мне. And we have this because it's мне, about me. They're talking about me. О ком они говорят обо мне. We use the prepositional case after the preposition при, meaning under or during the reign of someone or something, or in the time of something. So I'll make that clearly capitalized. Sankt Peterburg был So Санкт-Петербург был основан при Петре Первом. So Петре Первом. So during the time of Peter the Great, or during the reign of Peter the Great, St. Petersburg was established. So during the time of, or in the reign of. Or при, when it means affiliated with or attached to something. So we can say, you know, if there's a cafeteria affiliated with the university, we're going to use this при. So она обедает в столовой при университете. So if you were to translate this, you don't really need to translate при as a separate word. You would just use it to say like university cafeteria or university canteen. Or if you go to the movie theaters, you know, there's someone there to take your ticket. So, and attached to the, so basically attached to the cinema or the movie theater is this ticket taker. So, при входе в кинотеатр стоит билетер. And then при, also when we mean in the presence of. In the presence of something. So Мы не говорим об этом при детях. Right, so here we actually have two examples of the prepositional case, right? We have our ob, about. We don't talk about that in front of the children. So ob requires the prepositional and pri requires the prepositional. So we don't talk about that in front of the children. Or it can be in the presence of light, or, right? So let's say we have a pretty moonlit evening and two people walking along in the park by the light of the moon. Они гуляют при луне, in the presence of the moon, right? We also use the prepositional case after the preposition po, meaning after or upon or on. And this is bookish and formal. This form of speaking. So you could say okay, so this will sound pretty bookish, and it should. So po окончании, so there's our prepositional ending. So at the ending, upon graduating from university, he decided it was time to get married. So it's pretty formal, not very common in spoken language, more common in books. Okay, so then we have our prepositions of place that require the prepositional case. In these, we've got v and na, which should be pretty familiar to us by now. So, talking about где, right? Where is something located? So, another word or another name for the prepositional case is the locative case, so location. So we have цветы стоят на столе, or он работает. Где он работает? Он работает на заводе. Oops. На заводе. He works at the factory. So, na, right? Где? Where something, what's the location, or where does it happen? So, and we also have в. Мальчик учится в школе. В школе. Or она живет в Москве. Right? Где она живет? Она живет в Москве. So we have our prepositional endings when we're talking about prepositions of place. It gets a little bit more complicated when we're talking about certain masculine nouns, some masculine nouns, but not all, just some, have an u ending only when you're talking about location. So if you use these other prepositions and the prepositional case, then these masculine nouns are going to have a normal prepositional ending, like pri or o or po, right? It's going to have normal masculine endings. So, for example, она рассказывает об аэропорте, right? So we have our normal prepositional ending. But if we're located and we're talking about a location in the airport, we're going to have this funky U ending. Они ждут в аэропорту. So only when we're talking about location. This prepositional ending is different. So other common masculine nouns that you should know that have this U or U ending only when you're talking about location. В саду, garden, в лесу, forest, на берегу, shore, right? На мосту, bridge, в порту, port, в углу, corner, in the corner, в шкафу, in the cupboard, в году, you'll know, in a year, right? На краю, on the edge or border, на полу, on the floor. Also when talking about parts of the face, на носу, if you have your glasses on your nose, or во рту, in your mouth. So these masculine nouns have O or U ending, but only when you're talking about location and the prepositional case. All other times, after the other prepositions that require the prepositional case, they'll have their normal yeah or E ending. So hopefully the prepositional case is pretty clear. It's a pretty easy case. It's not used in lots of different ways. It's mostly used, or it's only used with prepositions and only a certain number of prepositions. So we have prepositions of place, в and на, which answers the question где, like what's the location or where is something. We have по, which is a pretty bookish, formal way to say after or upon. We have при, which has a couple different meanings. During the reign of something or someone, or if something's affiliated with or attached to something else, or if we're talking about doing something in the presence of someone or something. And we have the preposition to say about, so which is three different ways, o, ob, or obo.